What's good, sports fans? My name is Stuart V for Venom Sports, and you know we spit that fire. Arguably, one of the most intriguing matchups of the weekend is going to be SEC West matchup between Auburn and LSU. You know, this is a pivotal game for both teams because with Auburn coming in ranked number 7 and LSU ranked number 12, this game is going to go maybe not necessarily a long way, but it's going to go a ways in determining the fate of the SEC West and who is going to contend with Alabama and take on Mississippi. Mississippi State is a contender. Texas A&M has, at least for now, emerged as a contender after pushing Clemson to the limit. But this game always has high implication in the SEC West and quite possibly one of my favorite games to watch in the SEC West. Now, the biggest issue with this particular game is, how are these two teams going to emerge potentially victorious? Now, one thing that LSU has that's not necessarily going in their favor is that the home team has won the last 5 games. And Auburn, they play very, very well at home as they have won 13 straight games at home. Now, just looking at this thing statistically, here are ways that you can beat Auburn. Now, I look at and my frame of reference is the 4 losses that Auburn had last year. All right, let's look at Clemson first last year. Auburn lost this game 14-6 in Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina. And some stats really jumped out at me where Jarrett Stidham was only 13 of 24, and he only had 79 yards, and how Auburn had 13 first downs with only 117 total yards. I mean, this is just really baffling to me. And even still, Auburn had a chance to win this game, only losing 14-6. Now, ironically, Auburn jumps out to a 20-0 lead against LSU last year, but another non-stellar performance from Jarrett Stidham as Auburn jumps out to this 20-0 lead and wind up only having 23 points in the first half. But here's a stat. Auburn didn't score anything in the second half and only had 354 yards of total offense. And then LSU pulls this game out. Georgia. Now, Auburn throttled Georgia in the regular season, but then when they met up with Georgia in the SEC championship, different story. Auburn only had 251 total yards, 2 turnovers, and again, 0 points in the second half. This spells doom for Auburn. So you got 3 games in a row where Auburn doesn't score anything in the second half, and they wind up losing. Wind up, pretty much being deficient on offense. All right, so you get to the bowl game, the Peach Bowl against UCF, where I thought this was a must-win situation for Auburn because you definitely don't want UCF thinking that they deserve a shot in the playoffs, but guess what? Auburn turned the ball over 3 times and were limited in their red zone scoring. They got in the red zone twice in the first half, only scoring 3 points each time. Now, here's the situation with Auburn. This is the way that LSU is going to have to beat Auburn. First of all, they're going to have to help Auburn continue their trend of not scoring in the red zone. Or not scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Auburn struggles mightily in the red zone, and I've been pointing this out for the last 2 years that I've actually been talking about college football. If Auburn would begin to score in the red zone, you put Auburn in a totally different genre of football. They go from the stepchild of the SEC to being a perennial powerhouse. All they got to do is start scoring in the red zone. But they haven't been able to do that consistently. So that's one thing LSU has to look at. They definitely have to limit Jarrett Stidham's effectiveness. You keep Jarrett Stidham under 200 yards. You keep whoever they decide the running back to be under 100 yards. You give yourself a shot. Now, here's another situation in the big wins for Auburn. This is what LSU has to look at. In the big wins for Auburn, they have 400 yards or more. They control the time of possession, and they usually win the first down battle. All right, so that's something that LSU has to look at. They're going to have to control the time of possession. And honestly, in a game like this, I really believe they're going to have some type of takeaways to change and shift the momentum of the game. Now, here's something that doesn't go in LSU's favor when it comes to a game like this. Joe Burrow, who is a transfer quarterback out of Ohio State, transferred to LSU and is giving the LSU faithful some hope at the quarterback position. But when you look at him statistically, only 47.7% completion percentage. And to make it even worse, he is 2 for 15 when he's actually under pressure. Now, that doesn't bode very well when you have, you're facing at home one of the best defensive lines in the country. Nick Brown, Marlon Davidson, Nick Cole, Big Cat Bryant are definitely going to apply the pressure all night. And you best believe that Kevin Steele, the defensive coordinator from Auburn, has been looking at film, and he is going to, apply pressure. That's what he likes to do. Just look up that game against Washington, especially the last play where he just brought an all-out blitz. So, also, these are the two guys, Joe Burrow and Nick Brosetter, who's the running back. He has 262 yards, but 2 of the carries totaling 91 yards. So some of that is even deceiving. So here's the situation. And just to make this thing plain, LSU and their inexperienced, skilled players are going to have to grow up really quickly in a very hostile environment. Joe Burrow is going to have a really hard time over his hands. The Auburn's crowd is loud. Auburn plays particularly well at home. And I think this is going to be pretty much a breakout party for Auburn. Auburn will win this football game. I think they will win it pretty handedly. I'm looking at something like 28-17, and that's, being modest about it. I think the game should be, when you give, when you put both teams together, the game should be worse. But I think it'll be 28-17. I think LSU's offense will struggle mightily, and we will see, the truth about where LSU is as a squad. They are definitely not the number 12 team in the country, in my opinion. Auburn definitely is a top 10 team in college football, and we will see tomorrow, 3:30. This game kicks off at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Now, if you're in Central Time, it's at 2:30. It's the CBS game, and I think it will be rather entertaining. Once again, my name is Stuart V for Venom Sports, and we spit that fire. Like, comment, and subscribe. Just look forward to a 28-17 win for Auburn, and we will see you all later on. Good night.